Hi, I'm Peter Julian, International Trade Critic for the NDP. Bonjour, je m'appelle Peter Julian, je suis critique en matière de commerce international du MPD. Today, New Democrats are celebrating the victory over the Security and Prosperity Partnership, the so-called Security and Prosperity Partnership, the SPP. Now, this was an agenda that was started under the former Liberal government of Paul Martin back in 2005. Jack Layton, at the time, was the first elected official to take a strong stand against this very comprehensive agenda. And what the NDP has done in the subsequent years, as the SPP agenda unfolded, was fight at every level to expose the extent of the SPP and what we saw to be the very, very negative implications of this vast and massive agenda. In Parliament, we pushed and presented thousands of Canadians' names from across the country, presented their names in Parliament so that their voice could be heard, saying that the government must come clean on the agenda, must be very clear about what the extent of the agenda was, and also ensure that everything was done in a transparent and democratic way. We felt very strongly that if there was a democratic debate on the SPP, most Canadians would very clearly reject the agenda. At the committee level as well, New Democratic Party MPs in virtually every committee were watchful about the agenda as it emerged, which normally emerged either in the course of legislation or in the course of regulatory changes. It's important to note that this vast agenda sought to harmonize regulations throughout North America in over 300 different areas. In not a single case did we see any evidence of that harmonization leading to higher standards, better regulations, a more effective health and safety situation, better environmental safeguards. Not in a single case. In all of these 300 cases, what we saw was a diminishing of standards and a lowering of the kinds of regulations that protect Canadians and others in North America to have safer food, to ensure a cleaner environment. So the NDP at the committee level was pushing ahead to ensure that we exposed the agenda. And in fact, the NDP sought and was able to obtain the only parliamentary hearings held in the International Trade Committee on the Security and Prosperity Partnership. And many will recall that those hearings were shut down by the then Conservative government that took the place of the Liberal government, but continued the same agenda. The NDP also undertook a national tour, the Stop SPP tour, that went to almost 30 cities across the country, was seen by thousands of Canadians, standing room only crowds from coast to coast. And virtually every member of the NDP caucus participated in that Stop SPP tour, either by hosting or by speaking out at these events, galvanized the community. So the NDP was the parliamentary opposition to the SPP. And we are very happy. Today we celebrate the fact that, to all intents and purposes, the SPP is dead. We attribute this victory not only to the work of NDP MPs, but even more importantly, to the work of activists in civil society organizations, in the labor movement, in democratic activists across this country. Canadians who were galvanized to fight back by what they saw was as a secretive and anti-democratic agenda, what they saw as an attempt to get around our democratic institutions, to lower standards, and an attempt to give away many of our resources without any sort of environmental stewardship or responsibility, whether we're talking about our oil and gas resources or talking about water. So those activists, working hand in hand with the NDP in Parliament, were able to achieve the victory that we are celebrating today. Now, there are very clear indications that what has happened to the SPP has been a very quiet cancellation. In Guadalajara, the summit that was held in August, not a word was mentioned about the SPP. The North American Competitiveness Council, the group of elite CEOs that helped to drive the process, were not even invited to participate. The working groups of the SPP have essentially wound down. And Perhaps most importantly, the SPP site in the United States clearly indicated up until a few weeks ago that the SPP is no longer an active initiative and that the site now serves as an archival function. Now, they've changed the wording slightly, but the message is still very clear. The SPP website is now an archive for something that has been canceled, something that has died, I think one can say very clearly, an unlamented death. The NDP will continue to be the voice of those Canadians who believe in democracy and transparency, civil society activists, members of the labor movement who believe very strongly in Canadian sovereignty, in our democratic ideals, in moving to a higher standard, into a better society, rather than trying to push for lower standards and a race to the bottom. We have no doubt that many of the aspects of the SPP initiative will come back in perhaps another form in months to come. Today we celebrate the death of the SPP, and tomorrow we will continue to be vigilant and watching out for Canadians.